everyone's wondered, how do I actually find my personal style? But finding it successfully doesn't happen overnight. You might have tried things like the capsule wardrobe, building your Pinterest board, doing a style quiz, but no matter what, something still feels off. And the truth is, you're not alone with that. You're actually right on track. You're just in a phase of the style journey. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the 4 stages of the personal style journey. This isn't a checklist of what to wear or buy, but this is the process of what it feels like to actually go through it. I'll walk you through each stage, what it feels like to be there, and what to do if you're stuck. So let's start with stage 1, where you think you finally nailed it, but you're still kind of just playing dress up. This is the curiosity phase, and this is where pretty much everybody starts. And to be honest, this is not a bad thing. I actually really love this phase, and it can happen so many times in life. Like, think about when you were a kid and you wanted to start picking out your own clothes instead of letting your mom do it, or when you started shopping for yourself after getting your first part-time job in high school, or even when you're transitioning after a big life change like pregnancy or retirement. The key to being in this phase is that you're kind of feeling both stuck and excited at the same time about your style. You want to feel stylish and put together, but you're not quite sure where to start. So you're kind of just ready to absorb and take things in. This might be when you go down the rabbit hole of watching videos about capsule wardrobes, or that's when you lean heavy on those Pinterest infographics that say, you know, like top 5 items every girl needs. In this phase, I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of must-have, and you're almost kind of just like, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And maybe I'm making that sound like it's a bad thing, but you're probably actually having a lot of fun in this phase, at first anyway. It almost feels like you're doing everything right, where you just check off the boxes and now you're done and good to go. So in this phase, I feel like there's a heavy focus on consuming a lot of content, finding a lot of inspiration, and there's probably actually a heavy leaning on shopping, because we often think that the solution is in buying those pieces that we think are missing. But that's where I think it can sometimes be a mistake. In this phase, I think there's the potential to get more focused on looking the part for the style that you want, rather than figuring out what your version of that style looks like and how it fits into your life. There's a heavy focus on looking outward and even chameleon dressing, and you can actually be in this phase for years. And this is even where the cracks can start to show. Your closet might feel full of all the right things, but every time you open it up every morning, you still feel like you have nothing to wear. Or when you put on those essentials and basics, it still doesn't feel quite right. You're getting ready in the morning, you try on 5 different looks. So in this phase, even though you're curious, you might also find yourself a bit frustrated and feeling the urge to declutter. You kind of feel like you need a bit of a change or a refresh, so there's a big urge to get rid of what's no longer serving you. So this phase can be a bit of a mixed bag. It can be full of curiosity and inspiration, and a little bit of frustration and overwhelm. But you might notice in this phase there's a heavy focus on looking outside of your own style and what you like. You're leaning heavy on inspiration and even on shopping to find the right things. And this is not something to feel bad about. I think this is truly part of the process. Because either way, you're exposing yourself to things that are new and that you're curious about. There's something that you do resonate with there. So I think let yourself take that in. But if you notice that you are in this phase, there's one behavior shift that I would make. And that is to try to stop treating your style like a shopping list and try to play around with that inspiration using the clothes you already have. See what you've got in your closet, recreate some looks, have some fun here, so you can still use that inspiration to take your style to that next place that you want to go to. I think the real goal in this phase is to figure out what it is you're drawn to, see what you already have that fits that mold, and play around with it. I think the most successful and actually financially savvy place to be in this phase is when you stop trying to buy the style and try to create it for yourself with what you've got instead. Next, in stage 2, we start to dig a little deeper. At this stage, you may have done things like bought the gaps in your wardrobe that you felt were missing, bought the pieces that will fit that style that you want, and you've even tried recreating outfits that inspired you. You got all the stuff, you checked off all the boxes, but something still feels off. So this is where you just start to unpack a little more. You start analyzing and you start digging deeper for answers. It's where you discover that maybe the problem is your color season or your undertone, or maybe it's because you're an inverted triangle or a soft gamine or whatever. To find the reasons why some of your outfits still feel off, you kind of let yourself go down this rabbit hole of analysis and discovery to see where you fit in. Where sometimes that feeling of off in your outfit feels so frustrating, where it feels like it can almost feel like you're the problem and not the clothes. So welcome to stage 2, the analysis phase. In this phase, I think the focus is to really try to solve the problem of why that outfit feels off, and you start looking for some real concrete rules and systems months to fix it. And you know what? This phase honestly can provide a ton of clarity. I've heard so many people say how color analysis really changed the way they get dressed, the way they shop. I've even had my own color analysis done, or for example, using things like the 3-word method to describe your style in 3 words. I think all of these sort of analyses and tools really do have a place, and that's exactly why I included them here. When used with an open mind, I think these systems can really help a lot. But there is a potential problem, especially in this phase, of falling under analysis paralysis. Depending on the tools and the systems you use, sometimes it can be almost even a bit too much information. I think it sometimes can become very easy to get yourself boxed into a certain set of colors or a certain label of your style, where it can sometimes run the risk of feeling a bit too rigid. And I know this because I've done it. So I think the true goal of phase 2 is just to really build some self-awareness about what works well and what doesn't. And I think it's especially useful in figuring out why your outfit feels off or what you're craving more of to make your outfit feel like it's working. So I think this is a really fun phase to be in. It's a nice discovery phase, and I think it can really help unpack the why behind a lot of things. And if you do dive deep into things like systems or rules, I think it's really handy to use them as a guide to help you figure out the big picture and not necessarily a rigid rule book all the time. Then we get into stage 3, which is so much fun. It's the experimentation phase. It's kind of the phase where you stop trying to get everything perfectly right, because just like I guess a science experiment, you ask the question, you build the curiosity, and you've learned the history and the methods behind it, and now it's time to experiment. Now we need to kind of get our hands dirty. So in this phase, I think it's really just all about play. You start taking the time to try out different outfit formulas that you like. Maybe you start experimenting with proportions, layering, playing with accessories that feel personal, and even breaking some of the style rules that you learned in phase 2. So you might say something like, well, yellow doesn't work with my undertone, it doesn't work with my color season, but I still really like it, so instead of having it close to my face, I'm gonna wear it in a bag or in a pair of shoes. Or you might say, I know everybody says to combine a small top with bigger bottoms to balance out a look, but I want to play around with movement and proportion today, so I'm gonna try a big top and big bottom and just see how it feels. I think in this phase, you're just kind of putting everything you've learned so far into action. You're not necessarily dressing to copy an exact aesthetic. You're now really dressing to figure it out. You can break some rules, you can troubleshoot some outfits, and I think the true key in this phase is that you're just living in your wardrobe. And this includes the bad outfits. All of it is information. And if you find yourself needing to declutter your closet in this phase, this is when you start doing it with a lot more intention and with a curated eye. This is not like stage 1 where you're decluttering out of frustration and feeling like you have nothing to wear, but in this phase, you're a lot more intentional. You've tried things on for size, you know what works, you know what pieces are in the way, and you know exactly what you want to keep. At this point, you're really sculpting and molding your wardrobe with a lot of intention. And this phase you can be in for quite a while too. It takes patience, and some outfits are gonna be just bad. But the cool thing about this phase is I think you really start to see your wardrobe molding to what you really want it to be. It starts to really feel like you. And I really like this phase because it's less about like, what's wrong with me? Why don't the clothes look good on me? And it becomes more of a troubleshooting thing where it's like, oh, this isn't working because it needs to be tailored, or this color doesn't look good right here, so I'm gonna move it over here. It's really, I think, where you start to make the clothes work for you instead of the other way around. And it's very fun. And now we get to the kind of the final boss stage. This is the best stage of all, and that is alignment. So here you've experimented, you've made the mistakes, and getting dressed just starts to feel easy. So does shopping too, by the way. And it isn't because you've nailed style forever. I think this is something that still evolves over time. And the style cycle, I think, is actually something that you kind of bounce back and forth between phases as you go through it. But once you've hit the alignment phase, there's almost this feeling of self-trust and confidence behind every decision that you make. And no matter what phase of the style cycle you're in. Because at this point, you've learned exactly what you like, and you've learned how to dress for exactly the way you want to feel. This is essentially the phase that I think everybody wants to achieve when they start their personal style journey. Is it style nirvana? I guess. But I will tell you, and I know from personal experience, that you cannot fast track your way there, and you definitely can't just buy it off a list. I think this alignment phase can truly only be achieved after you've done the other phases, after you've experimented and made those mistakes. And in this phase, you just feel good. You feel calm, you feel confident, because your closet becomes functional for your daily life, but it also helps support your mood and how you want to feel. And this is where the shopping can change a little bit too. You might start to notice it become almost slower. Some might even say boring, because it no longer becomes appealing to get these huge clothing hauls of clothes that you never wear. You might start to find yourself valuing quality over quantity, or you can pass up buying things on sale because you had no plans on buying that thing at full price. Things like seasonal trends start to feel maybe a little less urgent, because now you have a really clear idea of what you like and what you don't. And when you do decide to buy something, you can see a clear place for it in your closet. You know exactly how you're gonna wear it, you know why it works for you, and you know the role that it plays in your wardrobe. So you're not really on the hunt for a deal or for stuff anymore. You also might find yourself being drawn to thrifting or secondhand shopping a lot more, because it's not really about the thrill of the deal, it's more about finding the right pieces for your closet that really speak to you on a deeper level. You're not necessarily just buying it because somebody else wore it and you liked the way it looked on them. You're buying it because you know the role it's gonna play in your wardrobe, you know the gap it's gonna fill, and you know how it resonates with your personal taste. And you can even walk away from things. You don't really get shopping FOMO that much because you know that that thing wasn't for you. You don't feel pressure just to spend to keep up. So the alignment phase is the phase that's really gonna help build your forever closet. And the best part about this phase is that now you're not afraid to dip back into phase 1, 2, or 3. Because I find, in fact, the phases of personal style actually are quite fluid, and you may find yourself skipping back and forth between them quite a bit, because your style is always evolving and changing as you are. But now that you've reached phase 4, when you see something that you do like that kind of takes you back to that curiosity phase, phase 1, now you're gonna know exactly why you like it and how to incorporate it into your closet so that it feels authentic. And you also know at this point that you can play around in that curiosity phase without shopping at all. So I think this phase just really helps bring in a lot of calm, clarity, and confidence into the whole personal style process. It's a really cool phase to be in. I feel personally I've only hit it just recently, and this is after years of trying to figure it out. So definitely give yourself time in this process, but it's gonna feel so good when you get there. So style definitely isn't something that you buy once and wear forever. I think it's a very dynamic and constantly moving cycle. So let me know in the comments below what phase of the style cycle you think you're in, and let me know why. And if there are some gaps in your wardrobe that you were looking to fill intentionally, you want to make sure that the quality is there. So watch this video next to find out which stores are actually worth the money. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye.